Yeah, Goku Black won the first ever Patreon poll. Well, kind of. It was actually a tie with somebody else. And you'll find out who that somebody else is next video. If I had to use one phrase to describe Goku Black, it would be that he's well-rounded. He can play any role seeing as he's not totally dependent on assist or meter, and he always has something for whatever the situation may be. His heavy normals are great, especially to crouch and heavy, and while he lacks range on his stand and medium, his crouch and medium isn't bad, and that's much more important. Yes, it's true that he doesn't have a low crouch and light attack, but if you factor in all his heavies, his normals rank above average. However, his projectiles are average, and which I should remind you that average isn't bad, it just means that he doesn't have an advantage over most characters. His ki blasts are a bit on the weak side, however he does have a grounded Kamehameha, and a Kamehameha is one of, if not the best projectile in the game. His God Slicer and Dive Kick take him across the screen very quickly, and let's not forget that teleports are the ultimate form of mobility, so no surprise here. Being able to force his offense on people with the God Slicer paired with an assist, having extremely easy damage in the corner with the bomb loops, and his teleports make Goku Black one of the best characters in the game in terms of ease of use. And what I mean by ease of use is that his above average normals, mobility, and damage will carry novice players over most. However, at higher skill levels, Goku Black comes up a bit short when his opponent respects his game since he lacks great pressure and mix-ups that the other top tiers have. Oh, and I only realized this after making the guide, but Zamasu is the advanced version of Goku Black. And now that everyone's mad, let's get started with the guide. Quarter circle forward and attack is Goku Black's God Slicer, which is his primary tool to start his offense when used with an assist. The initial ki blast have the same properties as a standard ki blast, so your opponent can cancel their guard with a reflect or super dash. However, it's not a big deal because it's fairly difficult to react to the light version since it has only one shot before the stab, and you typically use the medium or heavy versions in a combo only. The light version has a short startup, making it very easy to combo into, and you don't have too much vertical movement, making it ideal to force your offense on your opponent with an assist. The medium version does more damage and causes a slide knockdown. However, it has a longer startup, making it harder to combo into, and it scales your combo by 4, as opposed to the light version which scales by 1. I know this sounds bad, but it's not really a big deal because you normally use this at the end of a combo where the scaling is already at max. The heavy version is just like the medium, except it has a short startup, making it easy to combo. As mentioned before, this is primarily used in combos, however the light version can be used in the neutral to force an offense when backed up by an assist. Quarter circle back and attack while airborne will give you a dive kick. The light version comes out fast, and well, it doesn't knock your opponent down. And if you hit a grounded opponent, you're at a disadvantage afterwards. This scales your combo by 2, and you'd be hard-pressed finding a legitimate use for the light version. The medium, while doing more damage, is slower, making it harder to combo and scales your combo by 3. But it does count as a smash, giving you a wall bounce if you're close to the corner, allowing for a follow-up. It's important to note that if it connects, you're able to double jump or air dash even if you already used it earlier in the combo. The heavy version is the best of both, having a fast startup, wall bouncing in the corner, and scales your combo by 2. It also counts as a smash and does more damage than the medium version. The primary use for this dive kick is as a smash attack towards the beginning of a corner combo. The additional hits it gives you before going airborne makes the higher damage scaling worth it. Quarter circle back and attack on the ground is your teleport. Here always teleport to the same location that's relative to your opponent. So if your opponent is airborne, you're going to teleport up there with them. Light teleports you close to your opponent while the medium version teleports you a bit further away. Heavy teleports you behind your opponent. If used sparingly, you can use it to teleport in on your opponent from the neutral. However, the main usage is to reset your block stun pressure in open space. Oh, and before you go crazy with the teleports, just remember that a crouch and heavy does not care which side you teleport to. Next up we have your Kamehameha, and it operates exactly how you'd expect. It's fast, it will plow through smaller ki blasts, and it scales your combo by 2. There's really not much more to say about this. And finally we have your Command Grab, which is a slightly slower and weaker Kamehameha, except Zamasu is there to grab your opponent. And of course, we all know where those hands have been. This Command Grab doesn't count as a smash attack, and it gives you an extremely small wall bounce, but you can't combo afterwards normally, and it scales your combo by 3. Seeing as you'll most likely have to use a vanishing attack to continue, you're going to be getting some pathetic damage because a vanishing attack scales your combo by 5 and counts as a smash attack. So you'll be at the maximum damage scaling with no smash extension very quickly. But then again, it is a tracking command grab that still shoots off the Kamehameha on whiff. Let's take a look at what attacks you should be thinking about at their specific ranges. At the longest range, if your opponent's getting too comfortable trying to bait a super dash, feel free to fight back with your Kamehameha. Granted, you don't want to spam it because that'll make you vulnerable to jump-ins and such, however it's good to keep your opponent on their toes. If your opponent has too much respect for your beams, mixing it up with the command grab is a good way to score some damage and get your opponent to overextend. In the event that you're fighting against somebody that has a teleport or just really good reads, use your Ki Blast instead because you can always cancel into a vanishing attack for safety. At worst, your opponent will just vanish and attack your vanishing attack, which is a lot better than eating a full combo. Alternatively, you can use your teleport to get in, but you must use it very sparingly. Basically, you have to condition your opponent not to expect it in order to get any mileage from it. But if your opponent can't react to your teleport, then by all means, abuse them with it. Your Light God Slicer is going to be your best way to force an offense when backed by an assist. Even if your opponent knows it's coming, it's still pretty hard to counter it. We'll go over which assists provide the best protection in the synergy section. And of course in the mid-range you have your generic overhead low mix-up, which is done with the low air dash and heavy mixed up with the short dash and crouch and medium. In the close range when you think speed really matters, your crouch and light is your best bet. It may not impact low, but it has good range and goes into your mediums nicely. This time around I'm going to make a few changes to this section in hopes to cut down the length. So if it doesn't work out, well, I'll just go back to the other format. The first change is that I'm going to do an overview before going into the individual timing for each column. That way, for those of you that don't want to see the individual timing for each character, you at least know what the sections are all about. First up, we have the command grab extensions. Under normal circumstances, you'd have to immediately use a vanish and attack even in the corner to combo off of it, which murders your damage output and also ends up costing you meter. So, naturally, if you can get more damage and build meter, it's definitely a good thing, especially seeing how this is a really dirty command grab. Next up, we have the ability to keep the pressure going after a Light God Slicer from long range. The reason why it's long range only is because at mid range you can just use your generic options of a low air dash and heavy or a quick dash and crouch and medium. Goku Black with the help of assists can easily combo multiple bomb supers in the corner for some real easy damage. Some characters require a smash while others have to be at a specific height, and that's what the third column is all about. And as expected, we end with the low juggle extensions and the corner Dragon Rush extensions. Alright, this is the time to skip ahead if you don't care to see further details. So the command grab. I'm sure you noticed that it's only 2 points, and that's because the situation is, well, situational. It's not going to be a big part of your game, but when the opportunity presents itself, it's nice to capitalize off of it. 1 point if you can get a combo afterwards, and 2 points if the timing's easy. It's not really a big deal if you can get a stand-in medium or not because the damage differential is minor. Trunks gives you a stand-in special canceled into a super dash. The captain hits low enough for you to get a jumping Ki Blast. If you want something easier, use a slightly delayed stand-in medium. Call Frieza out when the beam first impacts. Jump after them to combo. It's possible to use a stand-in special into a super dash, but the timing isn't nearly as easy. For Kid Gohan, call him out slightly after the impact of the beam. Jump to follow up. Piccolo can get a jumping Ki Blast, but the timing is very strict. It's much safer just to use a stand-in medium or special instead. Goku can give you a crouching medium, aka whatever you want. Jump to follow up when using Vegito. Bardock allows a jump and ki blast, call him when the beam impacts. Zamasu's timing isn't too forgiving, make sure to slightly delay to medium. Broly's timing is a little more tight than normal, but still manageable. Use a stand-in special to combo. Same with 21, the timing's more difficult than the others. Use a stand-in special to follow up or play it safe and just jump to follow up instead. Beerus easily gives you a stand-in special. A crouch and medium is possible, but the timing is strict. Goku Blue's timing is tough, and the most consistent follow-up I found was a crouch and light. Hit gives an easy stand-in special. Call Gohan as the beam impacts, use a super dash to combo afterwards. A stand-in special is possible with Tien, but it's safer to jump instead. And of course Yamcha gives you anything you want. Jump to combo with 16. It's also best to jump when using Nappa. Super jump with Majin Buu. Moving on to the Light God Slicer. 2 points if the assist keeps your opponent stationary, as in they can't jump out. 3 points if there's only one gap before or after the assist, and 4 points if it's gapless, as in your opponent can't even reflect. I'll remove a point if there's some negative aspect to it. It's hard to see because it happens real fast, but the opponent is able to jump, but Trunks catches them before they can get away. The timing is as the second hit impacts of the God Slicer. The captain can just barely protect you and keep the opponent grounded. The timing is just before the second impact of the God Slicer. Frieza's long range assist was made for stuff like this, easily reaches and provides gapless protection. The timing is as the second hit impacts. Vegeta's range isn't as good, it's just outside of a low air dash. And of course your opponent can reflect. He needs to be called out right before your God Slicer. Goku's great as you would expect, totally gapless. However, the timing is at the same time you push the light button for the God Slicer, which can be an issue because if you're still holding forward, the assist won't come out. So I find it easiest to input quarter circle forward, then I push back and light with the assist button at the same time. Same thing with Vegito, at the same time you push the light button. However, it's not gapless, but if your opponent tries to jump, they're gonna get hit. So there's a small gap where they can reflect after the assist. However, since Vegito's assist is considered a small ki blast, they can reflect anyway. Zamasu has a gap after the assist, but your opponent can't jump out. Call him right before you input the God Slicer. Broly needs to be called out right before the input of the God Slicer, and there's no gap before the assist. However, there's a small gap afterwards. So small that your opponent will get hit for trying to jump out. 21 is gapless before the assist, however there's a tiny gap afterwards and it'll punish chicken blocking. Her timing is at the same time you push the light button. Beerus has the same issues as Vegeta. The max range is just outside of the mid-range, and since it's a small ki blast your opponent can reflect. The timing is right before the God Slicer input. Goku Blue's a 1 gap lockdown with just barely enough range, but the timing's really strict. Call him out just before the second impact of the God Slicer. Tien needs to be called out right after you push the light button. There's a gap after the assist, but they can't jump out. Yamcha can provide gapless pressure when called as soon as the second hit impacts. 16 is also gapless with good timing. Call him out when the second hit impacts. Nappa is gapless too. The timing is when the ki blast impacts. Majin Buu can keep your opponent locked down with some pinpoint timing. If your opponent tries to jump, they're gonna get hit, but you really can't capitalize off of it. The timing is when the second hit impacts. Gotenks keeps them in place nicely, completely gapless too. Call him out right before your God Slicer. Cell's range is just outside of your generic options and there's a gap after the assist, however it'll punish people who try to jump out. The timing is right before the God Slicer. He lost a point because of the short range. Now for the corner bomb loop extensions. It's a lot of easy damage with easy combos. Call out an assist during the second hit of your light God Slicer, immediately cancel into your super and mash light to continue the combo. 2 points if the assist needs some specific setup like a smash or some weird height. 3 points if there's no unique setup but the time is a bit difficult. And 4 points if it's done at the mid or high range and the timing's easy. If there's something negative about it, a point or two can be lost. I also put a H, M, or L which lets you know what height the super needs to be performed so you can tell what order to use. You'll combo from lowest to highest. Mids can be comboed into other mids and highs can be comboed into other highs, but lows cannot be comboed into other lows. Pretty much lows are the worst and usually require some real specific setup. If it needs a smash, I put a little S next to it, and of course, trying to link two smashes together will be problematic. Trunks is an easy mid-height activation. The Captain's an easy mid as well. Frieza's at a weird height between mid and high and needs a dive kick smash due to the fast assist, so he's gonna have to be your first activation. Kid Gohan is a typical high activation. Vegeta needs to be called out at the same time you push the light button for the slicer. He can also work at a slightly higher activation, but not quite the high position. While Goku's a low activation, the best setup I found was to do a normal juggle with the medium slicer ender, and as soon as you touch the ground, call Goku and activate your super. Even though it's technically a low activation, the juggle can be whatever you want into a medium slicer, so he gets 4 points. Vegito is your typical high activation. Bardock is a mid dive kick smash activation, so he needs to be first. Zamasu ideally is between mid and high, but can connect off of a mid or high activation, barely. So if you have another mid activation, put Zamasu second, and if the other activation's high, put Zamasu first. Broly's a mid activation. Beerus is similar to Goku in a sense that it's best to end with a medium slicer, but the activation is a little bit above the ground. The timing isn't easy, especially if the juggle ended really high. The best ender I found with Vegeta Blue is to do a double jump combo and call him at the same time you push the special button for the ki blast, then cancel into the light dive kick, then super. Sounds difficult, but really isn't. The best I got with Goku Blue was to end with the medium slicer, then call him out and activate as close to the ground as possible, then perfectly time a grounded light, then jump into another juggle. It sounds harder than it really is, which is only mildly hard. Hits a single jump smash activation. The easiest activation I found with Tien is to do a single jump juggle, then end with a light dive kick and call him out at the impact, then activate your super. Yamcha needs to activate after a single jump smash dive kick, and for some reason I had the most success when my combo was crouch and medium medium, then jump straight up, light special, medium dive kick. No fuss with 16, it's an easy high activation. Nappa has an easy high activation as well. Same with Majin Buu, easy high activation. And Krillin's an easy high activation too. Gotenks isn't too tough, just make sure not to delay calling him out or activating and you'll be fine. And Cell is yet another easy high activation. So I'm going to revert back to only showing the assists that aren't easy to figure out, such as a different juggle or a quick dash before the extension. Naturally, if it's not cutting it, I'll revert back to showing each clip. 1 point if you can continue with the jump and attack after the assist, 2 points if you can get a stand in medium, and 3 points if you can get a crouch in medium. I used auto combo links unless stated otherwise, so the opponent will be closer to you after the heavy. And here's a graph visually showing where most of the characters lie on the assist timing. You'll notice that around each assist portrait there's a colored border, and that colored border corresponds with what rank they are on the extension chart. So if they're green, that means they get a crouch in medium, if they're teal, they get a stand in medium, and if it's a red border, they only get a jump in extension or super dash. Okay, now for the slightly unique extensions. Trunks is a good example of why it's best to use the auto combo for these extensions. The combo randomly drops sometimes when you don't use the auto combo links. Anyway, make sure to quick dash before your jump after the assist. With Kid Gohan, do a single jump juggle, call him out at the same time you push heavy, and super dash as soon as you touch the ground. Piccolo can only be done in the corner, and his time is with the heavy impact. In open space, Goku can only get a super dash extension. However, if you're around mid-stage, you can cancel into your medium dive kick and ride him to the corner. Call Zamasu just before you push the heavy button and make sure to quick dash before your jump for the extension. Broly needs a quick dash before the jump also. The time is at the same time you push heavy. Beerus does have a mid-stage extension, but the time is very strict. Tap the assist button at the same time the medium impacts. In the corner, however, it's much easier. Just call him at the same time you push heavy. A stand-in medium is possible if you call out Goku Blue just before you push the heavy button. A delayed heavy, that is. If you delay it long enough, you can even get a crouching medium if you use a quick dash. Delay your heavy and call hit immediately after you push the heavy to get a stand-in medium. Gohan can combo in the corner. Call him out when the heavy impacts in a single jump combo. Super dash the follow-up to be on the safe side. 16 is another case of delaying the heavy if you want to stand in medium or crouch in medium. Use a single jump combo and the time is when you push heavy. It's also easier to not use the auto combo link so you end up closer to the ground. Same with Nappa. Delay the heavy in a single jump combo if you want to get a stand in medium. The time is at the same time you push heavy. Due to the random nature Kid Buu's assist brings, if you're mid-stage, just cancel into your medium dive kick after the heavy to continue the combo. The time is when you push the light button. For Gotenks, the best extension I found was a single jump combo with medium light heavy. The time is when you push medium. It's safer to super dash for the follow-up because the sides might get flipped or something weird like that. If you call out Cell between the light and the medium, you can get a crouch in medium, but it's really random, so if you're at least mid-stage, just ride him to the corner with your medium dive kick. And the timing for that is at the same time you push the medium button before the heavy. Finally, we're at the corner Dragon Rush extensions, and you'll notice that it's only worth 2 points instead of the normal 3. And that's because I think it's only worth 2 points instead of 3. They get 1 point if you can combo with a jump and attack or super dash, and 2 points if you can get a stand-in special. And of course, here's a line graph to show the typical timing. The general combo will be Dragon Rush, Light, Medium, Heavy. If it's different, I'll let you know. And now let's look at the unique extensions. When using Piccolo, delay the heavy then use a stand-in light before the special. The time is when you push the heavy button. With Broly, instead of doing light, medium, heavy, use medium, light, heavy. Call him out when you push the heavy button. Call 21 when you push the heavy button. However, make sure not to delay the hits or buffer the heavy. On the way down, kick him with medium before landing and using special. This is definitely not an easy extension. The best I found with Goku Blue is Dragon Rush, medium, double jump, light, medium, heavy, kick him with the medium on the way down, then jump up for the extension. The time is when you push the heavy button. This is really difficult, just like 21. Call Gohan out a little after the heavy impact. The extension's not easy, but it is possible. If you delay the heavy, you can get a stand-in special with Tien. The time is when you push the heavy button. With Kid Buu, call him out between the light and the medium, and make sure to kick him on the way down with heavy to get your stand-in special. If you delay the heavy using 16, kick him on the way down with medium, then you can get a stand-in medium. The time is to call him when you push heavy. First, let's start with something I'm sure many of you tested already, but just in case, let's go over it. After your level 3 super, your opponent is in a hard knockdown state, which means they can't tech or delay their wake up. If you teleport immediately upon landing, your opponent is forced to block or reflect. As you can see, I'm going nuts on the crouch and heavy, but there's just not enough time to get it out. So obviously the mix-up will be if Goku Black teleports in front or behind. Granted that the startup is visually different, but it happens so fast your opponent won't have an easy time reacting to it. As far as the timing goes, I start the input as soon as his hand touches the ground and it works out pretty well. On hit you'll get another combo, and on block you apply pressure. It's a pretty nice deal. Let's say you get a corner combo on your opponent and you know it won't be enough to kill. If you save a double jump in your juggle, you can reset your opponent with the Dragon Rush that'll catch back, up, and forward techs. Do any corner combo that leads to a juggle and end with a down heavy cancelled into a whiffed Ki Blast. Immediately dash backwards and go into your Dragon Rush. If you timed it correctly, it'll catch the 3 air techs. If your opponent techs downward, they'll avoid it, but teching downward is really dangerous because you're not blocking by default, and that's why most people don't use it. But if your opponent is the type to tech downward, instead of air dashing backwards after the whiffed Ki Blast, just attack and you'll be able to impact them as soon as they become available to be hit. If you use this in open space, a backwards tech will get away from you, but you'll still catch up and forward techs. The longer your combo is, the more strict the timing will be, but being able to kill off your opponent with a single combo into a Dragon Rush reset makes it worth it. Or at least I think so. So I wasn't able to find a suitable open space block string for a few reasons. However, that doesn't mean I don't have anything for you. The block string I'm going to show you doesn't sustain the assist indefinitely, meaning that on the 3rd loop you can't use an assist. Any attempt to prolong the block string will put you at risk. But just because there isn't a single sequence that loops forever doesn't mean you don't have options. Here's a flowchart that shows you what your options are. First you start off with crouch and light, light, medium crouch and medium, heavy, then you have your first option. If you want to go for the command grab, this is your time since your opponent shouldn't jump because of the crouch and heavy threat. If you think your opponent will try to reflect a tiny gap before your crouch and heavy, cancel into your teleport for a full combo punish. And of course, if you think your opponent will play it safe, continue with the crouch and heavy. After the crouch and heavy is blocked, you have choices again. You can grab them, or if you think the reflect is coming, go for a teleport. If you want to continue the block string, you'll choose one of the 2 red options. God Slicer is your best bet and works at pretty much every assist at close range. If you have a long reach and assist like Frieza, you can opt for the Kamehameha, which has the benefit of punishing people who are trying to attack or jump out. But remember that most assists can't work with it. Anyway, you can do 2 loops before having to choose something that does not require an assist. This block string can push your opponent pretty far across the stage, and if you can get them to the corner, well, now you have access to a sustainable block string. Once again, this is only in the corner, and yes, it'll go on forever. The reason why it doesn't work in open space is because you can't immediately attack during your air dash or else you'll whiff, and that gives your opponent an easy crouch and heavy counter against you, but in the corner you can attack immediately out of your air dash, so your opponent can't anti-air you with proper assist timing. You still have those reflect spots before the crouch and heavy and the first hit of the God Slicer, but remember that you can either command grab them or teleport for an easy punish. And the nice thing about the teleport is that if your opponent played it safe and kept blocking, well, they're right back in the block string. And as always, thanks for checking out the video. I'd like to give a special thanks to my patrons who voted for Goku Black, which I'll be putting up another poll shortly. And for those interested in supporting the channel so I can eventually make this my full-time job, the Patreon link is in the video description below, as well as an actual description I should probably change. But I thought it was funny. And true.